Hello, everybody, and Merry Christmas 2025. Another year getting down the toilet. Thank God it's over with. Anyway, figured I'd finish off this picture from yesterday. Got a little bit left to do. So let's do it and see what happens and see how it looks when it's all done. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Another year down the gullet. Wonder what 2026 is going to be like. Gonna be all crazy and full of craziness, or something? Is something crazy gonna happen? I don't even know. If you ask everybody, a lot of those conspiracies were that 2025 was gonna be the big one. I guess 2026 is gonna be the big one now. It's always the next year. It's always the next year. That's when it's gonna happen. That's when we're all gonna die next year. Which is fine, because next year never comes. Don't get me wrong, it's like I don't want to see anything bad happen, but it's just funny how it works, with a lot of these prophecies and predictions and all that kind of crap, Even like with 3-Eye Atlas. Oh, it's an alien spacecraft. Oh no, it's not an alien spacecraft, it's a psyop from the government to fool everybody into believing Jesus or Muhammad or whoever is back to lead the world into the new age, and it's just like, I don't think it's that. I think if it even exists, it's just a rock, if anything, But they are fun. That's kind of why I gravitate to that kind of stuff, because it is funny it's interesting, it's funny. And if you pay attention to it, you realize they do it all the time and nothing ever happens. It's kind of like global warming. Not saying that climate change isn't happening, because it's always happening, That's kind of that's one of those things they don't really lead on to a lot, is that it's always happening. Climate change is always happening. The world's always going through change. Yes, mankind has accelerated change, but, this world has survived far worse than humanity, and it will survive humanity. I think it just goes back to that arrogance of mankind. We're the best thing ever. Nothing can top us. So, we don't want to think that certain things are out of our control, like the climate, when it's totally obvious that it is out of control. The climate's never been in our control. So that's that. But yeah, if you look back, in the 70s, I think it was global cooling or acid rain. In the 80s, it was the ozone layer, or maybe that was in the 90s. But, if you just look back, every decade or so, there's some new natural disaster that's going to wipe out everybody unless we give it a bunch of money and make a bunch of regulations that are overburdensome regulations, So you gotta watch that stuff, kids. Don't let them fool you with all the BS. Like I said, it's not like, I'm not saying that climate change isn't happening, because it is. It's always happening. I'm just simply saying that they're always up to something. And who's they? They is the people that run the world, whoever they are. And they know who they are. It's not the people we think. It's not the people we know on the TV, who we yell at over breakfast or dinner every night. It's not the Elon Musks or the Jeff Bezoses of the world. Those are just front men, literally. The people that run the world are like the freaking cigarette smoking guy, people you've never seen or heard of that you could walk by at a Walmart or something, you wouldn't even know it. Those are the people running the world. That's the way they like it. Anonymity, They don't want people to know who they are. I don't blame them. If I was like a rich world string puller or something, I wouldn't want people to know me either. You know, I'd want to be totally innocuous, you know. I wouldn't want anybody to know who I am or whatever. And that's the best way to go, if you ask me. If you ask this guy. So I hope everybody's Christmas is going well. If you're not into Christmas, then, you know, I hope your Thursday's going well. This is a country that was founded by people that, in its current form at least, that believe in that tradition. So, you know, if you're not into that, then just happy Thursday. And hopefully you're having a good day. Yep. You know, looks like the new Avatar is out, and people are finally realizing something about Avatar that I realized a long time ago. They're not bad movies, but they're filler. They're, you know, they're movies that you can't remember 10 minutes after you leave. But not that. That's not what I'm talking about. It seems like people are finally realizing that Jake Sully guy is the bad guy in Avatar. You know, he's a traitor. He's just a bad guy in that movie. You know, he's a traitor for one thing. He's gonna betray humanity and leave it to its doom. He feels like he's the only person worth a second chance. Humanity's not worth a second chance, so hell no. He is, though, even though he's humanity. You know, he's one of those kind of people who is a hypocrite, pretty much. And yeah, when Avatar came out many years ago, I was mesmerized too by its, you know, by how cool it was and everything. But, you know, it's been a long time. And now it's easy to tell that he is the bad guy. You know? Yes, people fucked up the earth, and it's mankind's fault that the world didn't work out. But that aside, it's hard to condemn everybody to death because of it. Especially after you've come to the new planet and redeemed yourself. Seems kind of lame. But yeah, I realized that when I first saw the movie. I said, isn't he just a freaking traitor? Seems like that's all he is. You know, he got onto the planet, found some action, liked being able to run around and use his legs and shit, and was like, screw it, I'm gonna swap sides. And he became a traitor. You know, was constantly pestering, you know, humankind on Pandora. Those movies are just fluff. Like I was saying. Not realistic. Not even like that they're big blue monkey, you know, people, but just not realistic in the way that, like, people wouldn't do that. They would just glass the planet from orbit. They wouldn't be down there messing around with these freaking 10-foot aliens, you know. Give me a break. Just nuke the site from orbit. You know? Then you don't have to mess around with that stuff. With insurgencies and whatnot. Then you don't gotta mess around with that. And I was disappointed too because, you know, I'm invested into the Avatar thing. I've watched them all, for one thing. I kind of like them in some ways. I like how, you know, I like to see in any movie that has, like, future, you know, predictions of what humanity will be like. And James Cameron's good at that, you know, he's always done that. He did that with, like, Aliens. You know, that whole look of Aliens that we see in, like, Romulus and all those other new movies, you know, of the franchise in this day and age, are because of that look from James Cameron from back in the day. So, we can thank old Mr. Cameron for that. And that same look kind of bleeds over into Avatar in the look of the humans. gear, their vehicles, all that stuff, which is really cool. That's the kind of stuff I like in movies. That kind of concept design, you know, of the people and that kind of thing. That's what I like. And he did a good job in that, you know, of making, you know, the humans to be not super advanced, but not advanced, you know. So I like that. I think that sticks out. I haven't seen the new one yet. All I can say is that the pilots never look up. You know, if the main source of death as a pilot on Pandora would be from an arrow through the cockpit from an avatar on a Banshee, you'd think you'd look up more. And you'd think those cockpits would be a little more ballistically shielded, you know. So, little things like that annoy me, but other than that, movie's okay. The movies, like I said, I haven't seen the newest one, so I'll check that out when it gets far enough out that I can watch it on my TV. Because I don't go to the movies anymore for many reasons that I've gone into in the past. But just like, why? Why go to the movies? You know, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to watch it on a 200-foot wide screen. I'm going to watch it on an 80-inch TV in the comfort of my home in my pajamas. I can take a piss whenever I want, or grab a snack, or smoke something if I want, and do whatever, you know? Don't have to worry about anything. Or I can go to the theater and be annoyed by kids kicking my chair for the whole fucking time. I think I know what I'm gonna do. So, we're just getting in our basic details right now, you know? And then we'll go over them in detail a little more. But we just want to get some progress in and fill stuff in. The buildings, primarily. Just want to fill stuff in. And differentiate between the rail cars, train cars, and the buildings. You know, that's all. So some will be going up and some will be going diagonal. So I'll go up and just make all the vertical lines, buildings. Then I'll go through and make the diagonal ones. And the rest of this shouldn't take too long. I'm thinking half an hour, 45 minutes maybe. Half an hour, 45 minutes maybe. Go to my mom's a little later for Christmas dinner. Yep, I need to make that a little bigger. This warp hole here, so that you can see the building, because the front of that building needs to be black. So let's make this warp hole a little bigger. Yeah, now we're talking. I wonder what kind of live stream programs are on today of people, you know. I wonder if the old DSP is doing a begathon over there on Kick. And I wonder if DSP, or not DSP, the casino's gonna do one and all them. Maybe later I'll go check it out. Perhaps, maybe. In the meantime, though, I want to finish this drawing up for you guys. Yeah, that stuff's it's an interesting watch. It's a nice escape to this world we live in that's always filled with bad news. It's nice to just go to a channel and listen to people laugh, talk shit. You know, they're not making fun of crippled, blind, cancerous children. You know, they're making fun of internet celebrities and people that kind of have it coming. So there's that innocent. There's, you know, it's easy to watch because of that. I'm sure there's people out there that don't like the casino, but I think they're kind of funny. I think they're kind of funny, and they know they watch it. They watch their P's and Q's. They're surprisingly neutral for as much shit as they talk, you know. They're surprisingly neutral when it comes to the, you know, getting down with like the political stuff, you know, talking shit about the woke stuff or the far right stuff. They kind of steer clear of that stuff, so that's refreshing. It's refreshing that something out there isn't injected with all that bullshit. And that's nice. So maybe we'll see what they got going on later and we'll go check them out. Get all these fucking buildings colored in first, you know. I like drawing buildings, but at the same time I don't. You know, these are kind of cartoony looking buildings, so they're not going to be super detailed. Just enough to let you know it's a city behind it, you know. But, yeah. Is what it is. Because it ain't what it ain't. Hope everybody got what they wanted for Christmas. I got $100 gas card. That's fucking awesome. You know, that's the kind of stuff, you know, I was telling my kid last night. He said, what did you get from Grandma and Grandpa, Dad? I said, I got $100 gas card, man, and I'm thrilled. And he's like, oh, really? That's it? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. You get to a certain age, something like a gas card, that's like that's the best present you can give a person in this day and age. You know, here's a gas card, my friend. I care about you. And it's like, holy shit. Approved. You know, very much so approved. So I'm gonna go out and, well, it's not a gas card per se, it's just a gift card to a Circle K or whatever, but, you know, you can use it on gas. And whatever else they got, you know. I'll just use it on gas. Maybe I'll buy a few lotto tickets if I'm feeling frisky. I don't know why, it's always a fucking waste of money. And I don't think they take the money and give it to the schools either, by the test scores you see across this country. Like, I don't think they give the... You know, I used to work at a VFW, and they sold Keno, Michigan State Keno. And Keno players are the most degenerate fucking people. Not all of them, but like your Keno addicts, you know the ones I'm talking about. If you're a bartender and if you ever had to man a Keno machine, then you know who I'm talking about. The Keno players.